Morning. This is looking a bit more positive now. Can everybody hear me okay, Mark? Yeah. Go.
Stop.
So welcome. My name is Olli Wade, on the screen, PMO lead in Sellafield. I'm joined today by Edgar, sat down here, right? Edgar, Sellafield, but also Olli Wade, partner, Movar Reply, who are our partners in delivering this programme of work. Also, just want to shout out, sat quietly at the back, John Millington there, looking at his phone. So John, up until about 4 or 5 weeks ago, was our boss actually within Sellafield, and was absolutely fundamental in sponsoring some of the things we're going to talk about today. So
Just a questions. Asking was okay, or I was still there.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, John. So what we're going to talk about today, so we're going to give a bit of an overview on our journey towards a digital PMO. So we will run through a couple of tools, but it's not a showcase of technology. We really want to focus on sort of the approach that we've taken to implementing some of this technology. So, see on the screen here, the sort of mountain with the summit, there's a temptation, isn't there, with any of these programs, that there's so many brilliant tools out there with AI and there's so many great tools out there with AI. It's very, very easy to get carried away and jump straight to a solution. And AI is fashionable, you read it everywhere now. But the key question we ask is why? What are the benefits to the business? So the technology's out there, but what's it for? So we resisted that temptation to jump straight to the summit and go straight to the solution. And Movar joined us on a discovery phase, initially a 3-month discovery phase. So for us in Sellafield, it was a small investment to begin with, low risk to the business. And it was really about, come on in, have a look around our business, understand the landscape, see where the opportunity might be, etc., etc. It's worth saying we've had a couple of false starts at this in the past, where we have tried to jump straight to the solution. The problem is within the business, you're given a vision without a product, it doesn't really land, you don't really get the momentum. So through that discovery phase, our digital PMO strategy was born. And we identified, again, navigating carefully in what's quite a complex organisation. Very, very tight security, heavily governed, multiple stakeholders, etc. So again, didn't want to jump too soon. So in the same progressive approach we take through discovery, we identified 3 key stages. Smart core to begin with, so this is about setting the foundation, because if you don't have that in place, you don't have the data governance and the right backbone with the consistent standards, then you're going to fail pretty quickly. Moving on then into Basecamp, so once we've got those foundations in place, using those foundations to start to automate, to really see the benefits. Now,
Come on, sir. Yeah, come on in. Thank you.
So we identified the 3 stages. Smart core about the foundation, Basecamp about automation and integration following that foundation, and then the summit is where ultimately we want to get to, and this is the AI first, removing that sort of low value effort from the business, etc., etc. Now, it would be naive to think the business is going to sit and wait for us to go through all of this strategy and come back 2 years later. So through each of these phases, we've been identifying what we term low-hanging fruit. What products can we build now that can keep the business interested, whet the appetite of people, and keep that momentum going? And we'll talk about a couple of those further on. And then finally, continuous improvement. To pinch all these sprays, when we first started working together on that, I used to use the word best practice a lot, and Olli rightly so corrected me. And best practice today is overused tomorrow, so it's next practice. We can't get to the summit and stop, we've got to keep on going. Sorry, we're in the corner because we're just avoiding the sunlight.
Morning everybody, delighted to be here today. Sellafield Limited, it's a massive organisation. We class it as, we've heard it from an external, is that we're just data rich. We've got 30, 40 years of data, which is just, it can be really overwhelming on how you can actually maximise what that information is actually telling you. And in instances, you get requests from a project controls perspective for a report or another report, and all the time it feels like we're starting from scratch. All you can see here behind me is 9 capability areas that are governed under one model, and underneath all of these capabilities, then we have discrete packages where the interventions that we're and the improvements that we're looking at doing through the digital, working with Movar. And during the presentation, we will touch on some of these capabilities, on the progress to date, where we need to be, and where we hope to be as well. It's we're at the start of this journey, and you have to start somewhere. And the low-hanging fruit that Rob referred to there was probably a horrible term, that would it was, but it's all around data, maximising data to get the right predictability and the right outcomes for projects. That's it.
So onto this slide then, perhaps the most important slide really in the deck. So one of the big lessons, if you ask me what's the biggest thing you've learned through this programme so far, it's probably actually that the technology's out there, it's everywhere, it's being used. That's not really the challenge. The challenge is how you bring it into the business, and to do that, stakeholders is the is the key thing. We identified probably 6 key stakeholders that are on the screen here. So the obvious one, our exec, you've got to get sponsorship from somewhere for this. So what's the worst thing you can do? I said we've had a couple of false starts in the past perhaps on this. You go with the vision without product, you promise the big bang, oh, get efficiencies here, productivity improvements there, etc., etc. And then you get to a point, because it's a vision without product, you get language like that. So we've had it's hoverboards and unicorns that John, Rob, Lee, we've been in those meetings in the past. So the difference here this time is getting those small defensible pilots before scaling. Talked earlier about, I'm calling it low-hanging fruit. It would take me months and years to develop them, but to the guys in Movar, they'd identify as quick wins and stuff and get straight into our business. So that whet the appetite of our executive and enabled us to keep flexing. IT services. So IT services, the challenge back from them is, you guys are going to go and create a load of stuff, hand it over to us, and then it's going to be our problem. How are you going to manage it going forward? So our approach to that was to gain their trust. In parallel with developing this program, we've also, with Movar, developed a training program. So we are training and developing our own people within the team, so that whatever we develop, it's sustainable, we can manage it, we can run it, etc. IT security. These guys always get a bad rap, to be fair. So we've had meetings with IT security and they feel like they're constantly being blamed as a blocker to stop things. That isn't the case at all. The reason they're a blocker is because people don't bring them on board and teams don't bring them on board early. Find out from day one what's possible. We've done that through our discovery phase. So our IT security team were brought in on day one. They're part of our steering groups. They're working through the initiative with us, telling us what the art of the possible is. Finance. Every program's got to be funded, always asking the right questions. What's the business case? When are we getting the return on this investment? How much is it going to cost? So again, similar to the exec, the key thing is, as we're developing these initiatives, identify those quick wins, bang those efficiencies as we go. Again, keeping the appetite wet. Projects and programs. You hear the language now, here they come again. Another request. another report, another tool. That's not what this is. Talked earlier about building the foundations, like consistent WBS, CBS, etc. The golden rule for us in this program is everything is driven for controlling the corporate data from inside the tent. If we do that, we're not putting any burden on the project, we're giving them something back. What we're doing is using their existing data, structuring it, giving them the insights that they need. And then the end users, perhaps arguably the most important of all of these stakeholders, people who we need to help, the users. So our approach on that is, this isn't an idea that John or Rob or Ollie or Lee or team came up with in a meeting room for a workshop. We've drawn in end users from the team. What's hurting us? Again, the power of the discovery phase. What's hurting us? What would benefit us? Can we develop this? Can we develop that? And then we've taken an agile approach to managing. So those end users have become product owners for the ideas that they brought into the program, and they can help drive them through part of the planning and development team. Yeah. So, size of the prize then. When we first sat down and started talking about this through the discovery phase, and Movar joined us in Sellafield and we had the meeting said, what's the intention here? What do you want to do? Let's not talk about the technology, let's not talk about this, what we want to do. What's the challenge for Sellafield? The challenge for Sellafield is like most places, it's about efficiency. You know, always delivering more with the resource that you've got, constantly proving your worth, etc. So that challenge then translated into we've got to release some capacity. We've got lots of guys and girls in our teams who are spending hours and hours transferring data, not getting the time. You know, I'm sure a lot of people will have seen, we call it planning administration, so taking schedules, copying them from one into another, cost sheets, pulling spreadsheets together, you know, taking a huge amount of time, low value effort, taking them away from the important stuff of the data of actually analysing, getting insight, providing recommendations, etc. So the challenge for us is to release that capacity, and we estimate that's at about 20 to 30% as an opportunity. I did say we would talk about a few of the what I term low-hanging fruit, which Lee doesn't like. And I will repeat, it wasn't low-hanging fruit for us, but Movar developed these things pretty quickly. So on the screen, and this is one of the brainchild actually of John Billington in the room. So what we're always looking for, as most people will be in the room, and most projects are looking for, is predictability. That's the holy grail, isn't it, of project management, how you get that predictability. And we developed in-house, probably about 18 months ago, what we termed the leading indicator report. And that leading indicator was using project data, spinning it into an algorithm, and using performance and some of the risks to give a predicted end date and end cost. Because we'd sort of developed it in-house, it was semi-automated, we were running that, I'd have been running it for 18 months on maybe half a dozen projects. It's proved a really useful tool, but we didn't have the capability at the time to sort of scale and deploy that across the enterprise. And across the enterprise, there were projects about 400 in total, 400 projects in total. So we were touching about 6 of those with our leading indicator report. Movar developed with ourselves that lead indicator, which at the click of a button we could get on any one of our 400 projects. Now, again, the advancement projects and programs, we're giving that to the projects rather than us running it from a centre somewhere. It's there for them to run at any point they want. Some really useful things within the tool. This little diagram down here is my favourite part of this at the portfolio level. So the size of the bubble here represents the scale and complexity and size of the projects. Over the last 12, 18 months or so, we've had a bit of a realisation in Sellafield that actually our big mega projects, if you like, are generally in pretty good shape, pretty stable. And this is the sort of CPI, SPI, and where we sit. So in rough terms, if the bubble's in the middle of the cross, then we're in a good place. If it starts drifting anywhere else, then we need to look at it. So that's a great indicator. You can see here, sort of backs up our feelings of the big stuff we're okay with. Some of the smaller stuff, we need more attention, need more focus. Talked earlier about the requirement to gain efficiency. Because of this scenario, our scope in a PMO has increased by about 120% because the government have said to us, you need to get better at oversight with this stuff rather than just your big stuff. So these tools that we're starting to develop are great help for that because we can just click a button, get the output, and see where we're going.
Right, thank you. Yeah, from our perspective, the big thing that we're really trying to make sure of is that we maximise that strategy, right? So the strategy is being planned. We know that we want to achieve smart core. We know that we need good data sovereignty. We know we need good structures. We know we need good governance. Off the back of that, moving ourselves into base camp and taking ourselves into a place where integration and automation becomes a real thing. That's the first place we're targeting those low-hanging fruits that we talk about. What are those quick interventions and those small pointed actions that we can actually achieve, which we'll take you through a few of them in a moment. And then obviously Summit is the end goal. The end goal is always in mind, so whatever you're building through this initial phase has to take the end goal in mind. So you need to make sure that it's scalable, adaptable, etc., etc. Otherwise, you're going to build a product to meet a short-term solution, and then you're going to be parking it, right? Because it's going to go on, that doesn't fit because it doesn't fit the overall AI strategy for the business, or doesn't fit with the regulatory compliance we need to worry about. So all of that comes into play, and we need to make sure that that is stable. Where we are right now with that particular presentation to speak of and up to lead indicators, the lead indicator is based upon smart core. This is getting the basics right. On just about every project going, you've probably all sat in the room, looked at that and gone, yeah, we do dashboards. You do, and that's really good. Keep doing it. Getting that base camp right, getting that smart core right is really important. The stuff I'm about to take you through now takes you into that next phase, right? How do you get into integration, automation? How do you take advantage of leveraging that AI capability? The first one we'll mention, I'll click play, but I'll probably talk faster than it does, conscious of time. So we've been able to build a narrative assessment tool and also a regeneration tool. One of the challenges within the 400 project environment is that each project manager writes a different narrative, right? And one project manager writes a narrative saying, it's all the NDAs. The next narrative says, no, we're all fine, but the information is telling you that it's not, right? There's all sorts of aspects on that. What we've been able to do is build an ingestion tool that then assesses the narratives against those projects to understand where they are. Through the validation, through down selecting your project, you're then able to get a narrative score and tells you how good that project actually is with that narrative and how accurate that narrative is. This particular instance, by the way, it's dummy data, so don't bother with trying to read what it's telling you, but this is a 7 out of 10. This 7 out of 10 is telling us that we're scoring a 7 out of 10. It's okay, but it could be improved. Through that improvement process, there's 2 layers of improvement that get made. Those 2 layers of improvement are actually looking at the governance structure, looking at the data itself as real data, and making sure that also you're tying back to the base itself. So you're looking at it from a language perspective, and you're looking at governance perspective, and you're looking from a data perspective. So off the back of that, the final step on the dance is that this also regenerates a narrative for you that actually aligns to making sure that those things are appropriately met. So that narrative, you then get to adopt that narrative, but the project manager still has a chance to intervene. It's not, oh, well, your narrative's just been rewritten as lucky pal. You actually get that narrative back, and you, as the project manager, ratify that you are happy that that narrative is a better reflection of your project.
3 minutes.
Diving into the next thing, Sellafield Centra. Sellafield Centra is actually a Sellafield brain. This particular system is actually hosting both structured and unstructured data. So unstructured data, policies, procedures, standards, etc. Structured data, your baseline, your schedule, your cost plan, those are structured. This tool allows you to natural language communicate with every project across the board and understand it all. It can produce narratives for you, it can produce graphs for you, tables for you, the whole band shoot all in one place. With my 3 minutes left, risk query, 5,000 risks are within the risk register in Sellafield. But what are the key risk themes? How do you make sure that you don't have 400 projects and 300 of them are picking up the same risk? How do you deal with that? So this tool allows you to drill down into your risks in a different way and look at them through a different lens. The querying agent allows you to dive into all sorts of aspects. And then in the project control arena, I'll hand back to Lee. Lee can give us a quick update on this.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ollie. What this illustration is what I was talking about earlier when I was saying about the 9 capabilities. This one is focusing on the planning and controls. So, I said earlier around the data rich, we have 120 P6 projects at the moment, and range from £5 million all the way up to £1.5 billion on our mega projects. And if you can imagine, with all the different suppliers that we have, and from a progression on P6 around Vera, it comes in all shapes and sizes, that data, and it's really manual intervention, human intervention, and that information is thousands and thousands of activities, which then needs to roll up into a cost schedule, which then ultimately needs to roll up into what we call the SLBL, which is Sellafield Limited baseline. What we've been working with Movar in developing is that whatever format it comes into, the file upload, it takes away all that human element around it. It's all done by codification, so that the coding's there, which we've developed. So we then get the information, and then we can actually go from the level 3 schedule that we can roll up to level 2. And it just minimises the manual intervention. That then gives the planning community time to actually analyse the information rather than the manual, inputting errors, then checking, then double checking. This is a real success for us at the moment. It's in pilot at the moment against some of our smaller projects, but you have to do the testing, which will then hopefully roll out across the business. Similar on the cost side of things, these circles that you can see, they're all the manual interventions that we currently do. This is our cost management and reporting. What we're hoping to do is all of those red circles, and that's what we're working with the Movar team, is minimise that manual intervention using our corporate systems for what it should be done, for what it should be. And again, if we can minimise and work on that, then it's the cost engineers can actually look at the way forward rather than checking the spreadsheets, if there's errors in the spreadsheets and that type of thing. So that's very quick.
Yeah, well, thank you. So we've been able to recover some time for CASA today by stopping there. We'll give it the floor for Q&A. Is there anything anybody would like to ask or get to know more about or anything of that nature? Hey, Lisa.
So the common problem is the data integrity that comes in. So does this, sorry if I missed it, does this do the sort of data integrity checks, and then does it push it back to the project?
Yes, so we've got separate data cleansing tools that we actually use to actually cleanse data first.
Okay.
So getting the data structure and data cleansing right is the key there. The good news nowadays with the technology that's at our disposal is it doesn't matter if it's badly structured. There are tools that help us structure it better in the first instance. And by using those tools appropriately, we're able to accelerate into having clean data quicker. Hi, Kieran.
From start to point where you are, what's that journey been like in terms of duration and get those stakeholders on board?
So the first 3 months was a relatively straightforward fixed 3 months window. That 3 month window has concluded. We're now in the next 6 month window. So we're now 7 months in, 8 months in. In 7 or 8 months, those 5 adoptions have happened. So that tells you about that. Really important aspect, really important aspect for anybody who's a client in the room. Clienting is so important, right? And no consultant, Movar included, has no chance of achieving any of this without the client wicked rolling ahead of you. If you don't have that wicked rolling happening, you don't do it anyway. Sorry, Andy, before I come to you, John.
From a scalability perspective, obviously, Sellafield is a massive program. Some of the stuff that consultants might be working on are much smaller. The benefit out might be significantly less important on a smaller project and a smaller service that you're providing. Is it still scalable to those sorts of It's about the investments.
Absolutely. The first thing I'll say is that any major program is made up of small scalable elements, right? Any major program that hasn't broken itself down against this WBS, CBS, EBS, RBS in the right way isn't going to be able to achieve this anyway. So you can focus on a big program, focus on specific WBS elements. For a small project, focus on the whole project. So it gives you the opportunity to do both. The big thing here is the pace at which you can achieve these things now. This used to take months to do. Now it takes 5 minutes to do. An example with this presentation wasn't actually written by any of the three of us. This presentation wrote itself in 2 minutes.
Just a flavour of the scale of what we showed today, that's running on project will be scaling from about 20 million to about 1.5 billion in terms of sort of scale, value, size. So, yeah, big and small. Yeah.
I think the bigger the projects, the more the benefit, the bigger the benefit around that manual intervention. That's what we'll starting small on the smaller asset care projects with these prototypes, but ultimately it works on them. It's going to work on the bigger mega projects that we've got.
Cool. Any more?
Would you say, from a client perspective, you have obviously you're keen to start the journey, but in terms of getting your tech on board and starting that process, was the buy-in easy? Because I think.
Do you want me to answer that? That was a great question over here about the stakeholder, and you absolutely. So it's about step by step. You need some kind of advocates, sponsors at the right appropriate level, and that took us a long time. To be fair, we had a couple, as Rob alluded to there, a couple of false starts. Did we even have the right partner? Not sure we did. I think we absolutely have now. That's really, really important. Well, that journey for us to take on, imagine Sellafield, really risk averse, really concerned about data integrity, security. The actual journey it's probably around COVID time. Probably 4 or 5 years. At the advent of ChatGPT, etc., all that kind of stuff. What do we do? How are we going to integrate this? Can we do it safely? Can we do it securely? Multiple stakeholders, really hard, but it was worth it. It was worth it, and you absolutely need, it's a team effort. And the other thing I was going to sort of mention over here, really, we're at a project controls conference today, but you've got to get on board your other kind of departments, project management, engineering, construction, and now I think the challenge for us, I think that you're picking up now is your supply chains. I'm proud as punch of what we've done. It's a complex organisation, fantastic.
I'm going to wrap it up in terms of any other questions. I'm conscious of time. If you do want to come and say hello, there is a stand on the far end. Movar's got a stand. Feel free to come to us. We'll make sure that we're available over the next half hour at the stand, myself included, to make sure you can pick our brains, ask us questions, give us a kicking, whatever you. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.